Another company is changing its DEI policies after being targeted by conservative activists. This week, Ford CEO told employees in an email that the external and legal environment related to political and social issues continues to evolve. Ford joins a growing list that includes John Deere and Jack Daniels and Harley Davidson, Tractor Supply. Let's bring in Simone Foxman. She's a business reporter covering this for Bloomberg. Good morning, and thank you for covering this. First, I don't want to get into this, post hoc ergo propter hoc, after, therefore, because of this one activist. But how much influence does this man, Robbie Starbuck, have? And who is he?
Well, he's a music video producer turned right-wing media activist. He has a documentary as well. And, unlike some of the other conservative activists that we've seen targeting DEI policies and calling them discriminatory, his MO is find companies with a conservative-leaning consumer base, and then what he calls exposing them, talking to people on, Twitter or X about how these companies have these DEI policies and saying this is out of step with your consumer base. And so he's gotten companies like Tractor Supply was the first one that we saw back in June. He just kept going after them on Twitter, X, and it really ended up resulting in the company talking about eliminating DEI roles, rolling back their policies, their giving to pride parades and the like. And it's really angered, of course, some people, but, I think these companies see the benefit of eliminating these policies and not risking a sort of Bud Light situation.
Yeah, it would be naive to think that these companies are only making a moral decision. The bottom line is the bottom line. But is there a counterpart? Is there influence, pressure on the other side for these companies that are walking away from their DEI commitments?
It's interesting. I cover the pushback in DEI broadly. There have been a lot of legal activists who've targeted these policies. And I've been looking for a long time for a concerted campaign from the other side. What, pro-DEI, I suppose, forces will say is that eventually these companies are going to ultimately face litigation over potential discrimination, that they're going to potentially lose staff, but there is no one on the other side essentially saying, guys, you have to all, keep these policies. There are specific groups, Human Rights Campaign, for one, they have a very important corporate equality index. That's something a lot of these companies are leaving as part of these measures. Yeah. But even they are not seemingly, at least yet, quite so influential to actually cause companies to pause.
Simone, if in some cases, and again, we don't want to give him too much power, although he is having a huge impact, if these Fortune 100 companies are backing away from DEI because this activist sends an email or starts asking questions, not even a lawsuit or a boycott, one has to question how strong or deep was their commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is something that, advocates of diversity policies will bring up. On the other hand, you do see even impact investors saying so many companies adopted diversity, equity, and inclusion policies in the wake of the murder of George Floyd back in 2020. And it's good for them to kind of take another look at the policies they have and not only make sure that they comply with an evolving legal landscape, especially after, the affirmative action decision in the Supreme Court, but also that they are truly meaning this. And, it's interesting. I would like to see which companies, and ultimately there is going to be a company that says, actually, our diversity, equity, and inclusion policies are core to our values, and we are going to protect these things at least. Maybe we've dropped some other stuff because it's no longer legally viable. I think ultimately we will see that company come across. At the moment, these companies have a very conservative consumer base. We haven't really seen Starbucks, at least, go after one with a more diverse consumer base.
All right, Simone Foxman with Bloomberg, thank you so much. All right, this